The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Into the Pit or the Vibes Broadcast Network. This show is intended for mature audiences. Please welcome your host, Coyote Knight.
We welcome special guest, Chad Lindberg.
Yo, what's up, gentlemen?
What's going on, Chad?
Another wonderful day.
True, it is a wonderful day. Truth be told, literally, I lost you guys, and then just at the last second, you guys appeared, and I'm back. So this is meant to be.
Well, I saw that your chair was empty. I figured you said the heck with these guys.
I'm out. I'm out. Hello, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for being here. Chad, we want to just start off by knowing a little bit more about you, like where you're from and, where you grew up, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I grew up in Washington State, actually. Small town called Mount Vernon. It's about an hour north of Seattle. I grew up in Washington my whole life, and then when I turned 19, I got brave and moved down to L.A. and became an actor. And I've been here in L.A. since 96, and very thankfully started working and as an actor. I've been doing it a long time, and here we are. Cut to now.
So, was Fast and Furious the first movie you did?
No, actually, the very first movie I did, I started acting in high school. I started doing plays, and I knew very early on in my life that that's what I wanted to do, that acting was what I was good at. I was not a sports guy, I was just terrible. But once I got on stage, I commanded the room. So from there, I went to Seattle. Seattle was the closest big city, and I went and auditioned for an agency called Kid Biz at the time, and my mom took me, and I auditioned, and they took me immediately. And then the next day, they sent me out for a movie called Born to Be Wild. And if you've got kids, they'll remember it's a movie about a boy and a gorilla that go on these little adventures. And I auditioned to play a burger boss with 2 lines. And I ended up booking it, my very first audition. That was my first movie. And then from there, kind of did a few things and moved to LA. And Fast and the Furious didn't come along to the year 2000. That's when I auditioned for that. And then I would say that movie was the most significant as far as, that's what made me famous pretty much instantly. So
they put you in a big movie like that, and then they kill you off.
That's my deal. That's my deal. Whenever I book a part, the first thing that people, my family or friends want to know is, do I die? And I say, yep, I die. I die more than I don't. So yes, if you need someone to die.
Some of these Fast and Furious movies, you can use the paranormal angle and come back as a ghost in episode.
Exactly. I agree. Or however many they're going to keep making.
Yeah.
But we're going to continue seeing many Fast and the Furious, I think. Spin-off. I mean, it's cool, we never thought that it would become what it became, number one, and then to go on to be a huge franchise, very successful franchise. It's awesome.
So, Rodney, come on. I know you got something.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah.
Well, you're the only other Rodney in the chat room.
Okay. I do. I was going to have a pot reference, but we'll continue that conversation at another time. But it's a long story. It's an inside joke. Before everybody went on air, we were all having a nice little conversation. But I want to know is, you still drive like that? Like you did in the movie.
No,
that's what I want to know.
I'm actually a very good driver. My dad was a police officer for years, so I learned from my dad. So I guess I've always been a really good driver, always defensive driver. But then that movie came along, and obviously now I'm kind of connected to the car culture, whether I like or not, you know. And
So you got to break some traffic laws now.
you know, you would totally think. I know a lot of people when they go see these movies, you know, the first thing they do is they hop into their car at the theater, and the cops are just waiting right around the corner because everyone feels like peeling out. How can you not?
Yeah, I'm a good driver on the driveway.
On the driveway.
Yeah.
Everybody fuck up their mom's two-door 1996 Honda Civic with the automatic transmission.
Exactly. And it's probably like a teal green.
So I got a question for you, and
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I ask this right because it might be a little sensitive. But, you know, being that you were an actor and then you got into doing Ghost Stalkers,
Yeah.
did you find that it was hard for people in the paranormal world to take you serious, or did it just kind of help ease you into it?
Yeah, and first of all, nothing is off limits here. I'm an open book, so I love answering anything, and nothing is too sensitive for me. I appreciate the question. You know, I tell people this. First of all, you know, I love, you know, the paranormal for me. It's a spirituality and it's a passion. I don't ever feel the need to go out and put anybody on because I don't feel like that's right. Number one, and nor should we, or we have to, or we don't have to do that. You know. And people, you know, I caught a lot of shit for a lot of reasons, and I get it. I'm kind of a divisive character in the paranormal, and I tell people, you know, or the ones that would accuse me of acting, and I say I'm a good actor, but I'm not that good. If you can't feel and see the organic fear that's radiating off my body, then you just want to hate, and you're not really paying attention.
Well, it doesn't look like acting when we used to watch Ghost Stalkers. Like, this dude's scared out of his pants.
Oh, terrified. I mean, you know, they put me in by myself overnight, and all I had was a couple cameras and a flashlight. And, you know, these places were hairy places, and I loved it. It was a very transformative time in my life, and it really was a profound experience. And now, you know, this is what I do. I go around and, you know, take people out and hopefully show them the same kind of experience.
Yeah, so
you kind of got to look at it too. If you hadn't had the acting background, you might not have had the resources or the connections to be able to do Ghost Stalkers or to be able to actually have a footprint or, you know, to be able to do what you're doing paranormal. So, you know, it built up a nest egg. It got your name out there and it gave you some money where you have more money to be able to dedicate, you know, toward it full time. So it's people are going to, no matter what you do or where you come from, people are going to find something negative to say. It's good that you actually are dedicated to your calling and finding out what's out there.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And it was because of my platform. I you know, was a huge fan of Ghost Adventures, and I watched their show religiously for years. And when was it? Maybe 10 years ago, whatever. Maybe 7-8 years ago, I reached out to Zach on Twitter and said I was a huge fan of their show and if they would consider having me on. And then they did. And so and I became friends with those guys, and then they eventually had me on their show. And then from there, I just started getting invited to all these places and meeting the best, not the best, but just the most well-known in the business, in the paranormal community. And then Nick Groff got a hold of me one day out of the blue and said, I'm producing a show, and I want you to star in it, along with John Tenney. And the rest is history.
So do you and John still keep in contact?
Yeah. John Tenney is one of the most fascinating individuals. I don't know that he's human necessarily. I think he's out of this world, and anybody that has met him will tell you the same thing. So yeah, we do keep in contact, and John's taught me a lot, and we really both sort of grew in that experience, and I love John Tenney, and I think everybody should meet John Tenney at one point in their lives.
I've actually reached out to him, but I haven't heard back from him yet.
That's true. He is like Sasquatch in that sense. He is hard to get a hold of. Yeah, but when you do, it's magical.
So, what actually got you, fascinated with the paranormal?
I've always been fascinated with life in general, and I think that we're the aliens in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people are walking around like this is normal, and I don't think that this is normal at all. I think, millions of years ago, giant lizards flew around the sky, and that was a thing. We can go back and say that was real. And imagine if we saw a dinosaur these days, we would literally shit ourselves, and we'd literally go into like a shock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you fast forward millions of years to these things, these creatures called humans, and I just think it's bizarre. I think a lot of people take this for granted, and I think it's bizarre. And then you add death. On top of that, that's a whole new level of crazy. And then, you add all of the weird things that are in this earth, on this plane, ghosts, spirits, and I've had experiences since I was a kid. I lived in a haunted house when I was a kid, and remember the pots and pans flying out of the cupboards.
Oh man!
And then for years I kind of just stuffed it away, and it never was a thing. And went on to become an actor. Never really thought about it. And then until I started watching Ghost Adventures, and then and I knew right away that I was going to go out and meet those guys, and eventually go out and do this. And I did. So, and yeah, it's I love the balance, because I get to be an actor, and then I get to go out and run around in haunted basements, and it's a lot of fun.
But the good thing about you is you're an actor that's doing this real paranormal stuff instead of somebody in the paranormal trying to be an actor.
Yes, exactly. And like I said, I feel fortunate enough to have been able to cross into that realm and meet all of the wonderful people in it, like the John Tennys and the Chip Coffeys and Nick Roth and all these people. So it's awesome.
So did you take the red pill or the blue pill?
Good question. Good question. What gets me to what gets me into the Matrix? Which one was it?
So what you got on your mind, Chris? I can see it in your eyes.
I was actually wanting to know is the far as like different sites that you go to, Chad, do you prefer like individual like sites like where there might have been an incident with one person? Because I kind of like I'm intrigued by the Civil War. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I just went and checked out the site of the Battle of Missionary Ridge, where there's a big charge of the Union. It was basically where the first lines of the South broke for Sherman to be able to launch Sherman's march. And then, Kyle's in Texas, you're in California. There's so much of the nation's history, and there's so much energy still out there. Is there a particular like genre, like places that you like kind of like going to check out, or is there like a particular site that you can remember that stands out you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people, I don't like the word, I don't know. I would say the most intense places and the most creepiest places tend to be my biggest teachers. I love going to places like you talked about. That's a lot of history. Gettysburg was amazing. But I love the places that kind of are really offbeat and weird. We shot at a place called Whispers Estate. Do you guys know Whispers Estate?
I can't say I know that one.
I have not heard of that.
Whispers Estate is an old Victorian home in Mitchell, Indiana, and we shot there. And you wouldn't know it if you just walked by it outside. But you go inside, and it literally kind of feels like a boat, like you're rocking on a boat. And I had one of probably my most profound experiences there at Whispers Estate from the show. And then there's another place that I had sworn not to go back to, and that's called Old South Pittsburgh Hospital in Tennessee.
Oh, I know about South Pittsburgh Hospitals. Okay, yeah, I'm not going there.
Yeah,
I have heard of that one.
I've been there twice.
The 1900s mental hospitals and the orphanages. I know they got a lot of energy. So tell me about the South Pittsburgh Hospital.
I went there twice, and in my experience going there, it was life-changing. I gotta say, the lady who owns the building at the time, When we had got there the first time, before I got there, the gentleman running the event showed me a photo, and in the photo, it's taken down a long hallway, and at the end of the hallway, you see this big, long, sort of like figure standing with these long legs and torso, and then the head kind of seemed like a cow's head, and then it had these horns, and it kind of looked like a goat, right?
Whoa.
So I get to this place, and I see this photo, and the lady there tells me that there's a creature here, or I hate using the word demon, but something that's really heavy and negative and awful, and it would manifest itself into different forms. Well, she said there's 3 ways that it does so. One was a goat, and I saw that. And then later that night, it's on my Instagram. I can even send you guys the photo if you wanted. Later that night, I was in a chapel, and in the photo, and I posted this on my Instagram because it was way too fascinating. In the photo, you see me standing in the front of this chapel. You see a couple of real people sitting there, and then in the corner, in the bottom of the window, you see this massive creature sitting there, profoundly looking at me with its head tilted, and it's this huge black body that's kind of going into the wall, and then it's got these 2 big stout kind of like black legs, and then you go up and you see its torso, and it's got this like skeleton kind of like torso with faces in it, with these big long arms and these crinkly like hands, and then you go up to its face, and it's got this kind of like this cow head with horns coming out, and then this big black mane. If that's not weird enough, and it's a huge body, it takes up the whole window. We didn't see it with our own eyes, obviously, but what's creepy about that is the way that it's kind of like leaning towards me with, when you're listening to somebody with his head cocked a little bit, so we see this photo, and everyone loses their shit the next day. We were there for 3 nights. When we were done with the investigation, the ghost hunt, I swore I was never going back. Now, fast forward 5 more months later, my buddy calls me again. He said, "We're going back. Would you like to come back and do this event?" And I said, "I don't know. I really have to think about it." Usually I'm like, "Let's do it." So I said yes. I went back to that place, and immediately I asked the lady there, I go, "I know you had told me, but what was the 3 ways that this thing manifests?" She goes, "A goat." I'm like, "Okay, I saw that." She goes, "A bull was the 2nd way that this thing manifests." Well, in the photo that was taken with me, this thing it's got a body like a bull, like a big old just sitting there bull. I'm like, "Okay, the 3rd way that it manifests." I'm like, "Tell me, I gotta know." She's like, "A monkey." I'm like, oh, okay, a monkey. So then for the night, we were there for another 3 nights. From the get-go, I'm saying, "Monkey this, I want to see the monkey." I'm pushing hard. I brought a good friend with me to this event. I was going so hard that it was, it gets real, right? You go out there and it gets very real. And I was pushing in a way, not antagonizing, but I was pushing for myself because I wanted to see this thing. I wanted to see that it existed. I wanted it to hurt me. I wanted it to touch me in a really effed up way. So then my buddy, after just pounding this thing all weekend about the monkey, finally, I was losing light at this place. I was losing a lot of light, and things were happening. My buddy took me outside, slapped the shit out of me. Said, "You're gonna kill yourself, and you're gonna kill everybody here, and you're gonna hurt your family." Kind of had a coming of God. This is going somewhere, I promise. Kind of had a coming of God. So I go back into old South Pittsburgh. I have this profound sort of apologetic sort of thing that happened with the hospital. Anyway. So the next day, we all go to the Cracker Barrel in the middle of Tennessee. Okay, we're having lunch there with the ghost crew that we were with, and my buddy Ernie goes, "Oh man, we got to get out. We got to go to the rental car place. We're gonna be late. It's gonna close." So we literally pay the check and we run outside. And the first thing that I see when I go outside is this woman standing there, and in the woman's arms is a baby monkey.
Oh my gosh.
A baby monkey, and I literally saw this thing, and we all literally just died, just about fell over. This woman walks by me, and this monkey looks up at me, makes a face, a monkey face, and literally walks inside the Cracker Barrel. And that was my lesson from the universe. That was the universe saying, oh, you want to see a monkey? Okay, well, you're not going to see the negative monkey. You are here to see a positive monkey. And that's how I took it, because when is the last time that you've ever been to a Cracker Barrel and seen a live monkey?
Can't say that I have.
That's like Tuesday down here, man.
Hey, you know,
that was a more line. He was coming in.
So, speaking of animals, we have two mediums that work with us. Anyway, one of them, her name is Nayeli, and she made a remark in our chat room, and she said that Chad is her new spirit animal.
I like that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I like that.
And she's wanting to know that with your childhood experiences with ghost spirits, and now you're more into the paranormal world. Does it bring more clarity to what you saw as a child?
Yeah, you know, I when I was 7, 8 years old, I was diagnosed with Reye syndrome, and Reye syndrome sort of basically you don't really come out of it, and it's something that attacks the immune system within children. I'd come down with Reye syndrome. My parents they were told that basically I'm going to die within a couple of hours. And they took me to the hospital, and they put me on ice for about a week and a half.
Oh, wow.
And in that time, I kind of floated. I wasn't really present on this earth. Like, I kind of feel like I was floating in between this reality, and call it what you will. I call it the other side, or whatever is going on after this crazy business. What's that?
Different frequency.
Exactly right. So, you know, I didn't think about it, and then I thankfully lived, and there were other children that passed at that time that had the same thing. So whether or not that kind of opened things up, I think it played a part. Everything's connected, right? I mean, from when we were babies, I think everything is connected along the way. So yeah, you know, it's hard to say.
And everything happens for a reason. You meet the people that you meet in your life for a reason. And just the same thing with spirits. To me, you meet these certain spirits when you're out there, and it does bring some meaning to your life.
Absolutely.
As long as you're open to it.
Absolutely. And I will say that you know, spirits have brought me friends, have brought me, you know, so many people that it's just... They have a way of bringing people together, and, you know, I think they have a way of getting us to certain locations, because how many times have you been somewhere and they know your name?
Only at Cheers.
Only at Cheers.
So, Rodney, you look like you got something on your mind. And now he's speechless. I guess we lost his audio. Oh, well.
No, man, my phone's freezing. No, my phone was freezing up there for a second. Okay. Sorry, it was freezing up. Man, y'all were all talking deep and everything. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I get that. I get what you're saying. And, and I'm over here. Oh, yeah, I got a question that's going in a whole other direction again. Okay, first off, it sucks that they killed you off Supernatural. Okay.
Oh.
You are seriously one of my favorite ones on there.
Thank you.
The smartest one, smarter than DJ Qualls' character Garth. So a lot smarter. Anything weird or anything happen? I mean, because I know you guys during that season too. I mean, the season that you were on, and throughout the whole, you know, the series. Y'all were conjuring up some stuff. Even I did some little research on things just to be curious. I'm like, okay, somebody's had to been doing something going on there. So anything weird happened on set that you can recall when you were out there?
No, absolutely not. Actually, you know, and you're not the first one to ask that question. People have wondered, did things happen on set? And was that what got you into the paranormal? like actually not even close. You know, it feels like one of the greatest sets to be a part of, number one. And those two guys, Jared and Jensen, two of the nicest guys in the world. And that set is nothing but just laughs and good times. And they work so hard. But that was actually before I got my role on the paranormal, and it was just kind of a weird sort of coincidence that I happened to be on Supernatural and then go into the paranormal and then do kind of what they do and do it for real. And I tell people, and I tell people, you know, as crazy as the show gets, these stories are lodged in truth somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's so cool about it.
So I know you talked about this earlier, but I think somebody wants you to elaborate a little bit more about your first paranormal experience.
Yeah. The first one that I can remember, we my family and I had moved into a home where there was an older couple that lived there, and the wife had passed away, and the husband was forced to move to a home. And the older lady had passed, I believe, at the house. And things had gotten so bad that I remember we all started sleeping in the living room. And then one night, the pots and the pans came flying out of the cupboards. And my mom, my sister, and I went running into the kitchen. And sure enough, the pots and pans were everywhere. And I remember my mom saying, "That's enough." And then that was enough, and that was it. And then we had moved shortly after that, and that's actually when I got sick with Rye syndrome. Was right after that experience. Was actually living in that house, and come to find out, my sister would wake up and see the old woman sitting and watching her sleep. And she never talked about that for years. We never talked about it. You know, it was something that you just never, back then, you really spoke about, and if something happened, you kind of like, you know, but now it's so, I don't know, now I go looking for it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you know,
as kids, if something happened to us, we didn't just run out and tell people because, you know, they'd say, "Oh, you're just crazy." But you always had that, you know, cousin or a best friend that you could sit and you could say, "Hey, this really, really creepy thing happened to me the other night." But now everybody wants to know about it, so everybody's more open to talking about it.
Exactly.
So come on, Chris. You still got that look in your eye.
No, I've just been listening, man. This has been a great conversation. It's cool to just sit in on it and listen. I just think the whole thing, the Pittsburgh, the South Pittsburgh Mental Hospital, it's got me interested. Man, there's just so much history, and then the story too about the monkey too, because man, in so many different things in life, people can be so dead set on finding an outcome, whether it be positive or negative, and you might think that it's going to turn out one way, but if you're not really open to what's really going on, you're going to miss what's going on. You're going to miss the actual lesson.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And, you know, I love when people come out to these ghost hunts and they experience these things, but then you have some people that come out with so many devices, and they come out with these boards with like all these devices on it, and they're constantly looking down at their devices. And I'm like, man, your body is the best instrument there is. It's going to tell you exactly what's going on. Your mind's going to lie to you, but your body's going to tell you the truth. And when your body says,
they've already decided what they're going to see.
Exactly.
They've already got it in their head what they're going to see, so they're not open to actually seeing what's going on. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go, and this is going to happen, and I'm going to capture this, and I'm going to put it on YouTube, and I'm going to get this many hits. And then there's an entity like looking over their shoulder like, what's that button do? And then this
That's exactly right. Or they know too, and things happen right when you turn off your camera. You know, they're like, no, we're not going to give you this, but we'll give it to you when you turn off your camera.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Now, I've told this story on air before, but Rodney and I and our group, we got invited to go to this house in Seguin, Texas, which is literally just right down the street from the Magnolia Hotel.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're there, and we had some of our equipment.
Is that in Magnolia, Texas?
It's Seguin, Texas. The hotel is called the Magnolia Hotel. But anyway, we had a REM pod. and we had it set up in this room, and it'd been quiet for a long time. And one of the lights that we normally don't see light up, it started beeping. And it got to beeping in such a way, we were all like, this sounds kind of like Morse code. So I took out my phone, I found a Morse code app. And you just type in whatever you want to say, and then it'll beep the dashes and dots and dashes and dots. And so we were getting a response from it. Anyway, the next day, because we spent the whole weekend at this place, the next day we decided we were going to kind of look around the town because it's a nice little quaint town. Went into this store. I kid you not. We were looking at some little jewelry in there, and there was a bracelet, and it said Seguin on it, and underneath it, the Seguin was spelled out in dashes and dots.
Oh, wow.
It was in the Morse code.
Man,
that's amazing.
And Nayeli, I told you, our one of our mediums, she kept telling us before we even got there, she goes, I don't know why, but I keep hearing Stevie Nicks in my head. And while we were looking in that store, they were playing Fleetwood Mac.
That's amazing.
So
everything's connected too. It's just like we have to pay attention. And I tell people at ghost hunts, I'm like, if you think about unicorn farts, say it, because it's going to make us all laugh, and we're going to head this direction, and then it's going to take us somewhere else. Everything's connected. You just never know. So it's like if we pay attention to the little things that are happening around us, it gives you that validation.
Exactly, and then you do have to be careful too, because we've had things attached to us. We bring them home with us, and hence why I have my darling wife and our mediums. They know how to cleanse before we leave. But the first group I was ever with, we went to the Yorktown Hospital and didn't have any protection, didn't have my spiritual condom on or anything like that.
Yeah, I like that. That's the first time I've heard that.
Use it. Say it on the next episode. Say it.
But when I got home, I was having these severe pains in my stomach and went to 3 different doctors. They did all these tests, couldn't find anything wrong. And anyway, somebody had brought up the fact, hey, look at the picture that we had taken in front of it, and it looked like there was a hand touching me right there. And Rodney has and he'll deny it, but he's got this ability to seem to chase things away. The moment I talked to him about that, the pain went away and it was gone.
That's all right. I'm on my way. I'll be over there tonight. Yeah, I'll be over there tonight. When I told him that, and over the phone, I was at work, and the pain went away.
That's amazing. Rodney's like a paranormal cougar.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. All right.
All right. So our buddy,
I don't know what it is. So certain energies can just.
Yeah,
can be attracted to me, and all kinds of weird stuff could happen. But there's certain places, or certain energies. I get there, and everybody's claiming all this and this and this and this just going on right now. It's so hot. I walk in, nothing.
Done.
It's done.
Even the last investigation I was on back in July, old house, built in 1876. There's been deaths in this house. They've had so much stuff going on before I got there. While part of the team was setting up before I even arrived, they had furniture moving. They were getting EVPs, all of this. I show up, nothing much happened. I even stayed there by myself overnight, and nothing went on. Right. But it does it for everybody else. So maybe it's just one of those type. Like, hey,
it's all dependent on your energy, right? It's all depending on the person's energy, and you can go on somewhere and it's just literally nothing, and then you're going somewhere and it's just
right. Or exactly.
Or it's BO.
Or especially that too. Sometimes I forget, man. All right, because I'm sure it does that with on y'all's when y'all go out to investigate. There's some places there. I'm sure you're like, holy crap, am I a ghost magnet? Or and you're going out to another place. You're like, okay, what's going on now?
Yeah, I call it the paranormal stink. When you leave a place, kind of like it has that you have that residue on you.
Oh
you know what I mean? you know, and you get home and you're like, oh man, it's just
was the
everywhere.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how some people are born just with just natural talents or disposition. Like some people are born tall, fast, or strong. Just like some people are born with better memories. I think there are people who are born that are more able to pick up on things and more perceptive. Like I think, you know, when people really maybe in the future are able to understand energy more, they're going to see that there are people who just pick up on energy and are able to pick up on stuff. Just like LeBron, 6'8" and 260 pounds of fast twitch muscle, there may be somebody who just is able to pick up on stuff just a little bit better than other people, either through, you know, just be, you know, by nature through genetics, or just, you know, by being quiet or just, you know, honing a skill. But I really think that it's stupid to try to act like there's not more than we understand. I mean, shit, if you look at it, this is what, 2019, 1919, nobody even had freaking cars. There was like people who were still on horseback. You know, the car was new. Very few people had running water to be able to communicate, you know, different states. I mean, even I graduated high school in 1991. I still remember long distance phone bills.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yes.
yes. What we're doing now is like if we've just learned this much, you know, there's a shit ton more. Like you said earlier about, you know, the thousands of years ago, there were flying lizards. It's like if you go to the bottom of the ocean, you know, there are sharks that are like, what the fuck is this monkey and this damn wrapped in plastic doing down here snooping the fuck around?
Yeah.
Do you know what the oldest living dinosaur is?
No.
They're birds. They once were lizards.
Yeah.
So
no, it's one of those things that I think, again, because, you know, we're so busy now into these phones and emails, and it's just like we don't think about the fact that no, dinosaurs were fucking roaming around here.
Mm-hmm.
That's bananas to me. Like, you know, lizards that are that are literally giants. I mean, that makes no sense. So then these things, we're these gangly creatures that are walking around thinking we know what's going on. I don't think we know shit.
No.
Those gangly creatures are teenagers.
And there's the dad joke right there.
But you know, we use mediums when we go on our investigations, and the reason behind that is you get a lot of information that you otherwise might miss. And I mean, have you ever used mediums when you go out on your ghost hunts?
No, absolutely. I'm open to everybody. I think that everybody has that ability within them somewhere and are able to access it. And I love having mediums that come on an investigation and they're able to validate what's happening. Yeah. I love the validation. That's why we do it, to get that validation, and I love seeing when people have that experience, and that it's almost like magic. You know what I mean? That kind of like that feeling, and that's when you hear a disembodied voice, when something happens to you, you will never forget where, you'll never forget how it felt, and it changes you. I think it really does change this, whatever we're experiencing here on this plane. I think it deepens that experience, and that's why I love it so much.
So I know that y'all were always looking for portals and things like that. Why are you laughing?
No, it's funny. The portals, the portals have chased me and John Tenney around for quite some time. But yeah, and that was also, kind of what they wanted us to do on the show, was to go and look for portals. And I think it became a drinking game, in fact, how many times we can say it. I think portals are all around us. I think, of course, there are some locations that are more concentrated than others, like hospitals, for instance. Why we got death and we have birth happening in the same exact place. That's fascinating to me. Certain places kind of like are, I don't know, house these things. I don't know.
Well,
it's very bizarre.
All I know is Jack and Katrina have done stole that away from you now.
I don't have a cable, so I'm not actually able to see these shows right now. But are they looking for portals as well?
Yes, it's called Portals to Hell.
That's right. Okay, well then we have that in common. I hope they find a few.
Actually, it's a very interesting show, and they don't make it ridiculous. You can see the intensity when Jack Osborne is going to look for something, and Katrina, you can see her, how much experience that she's had in it, and kind of bringing him along. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great to hear.
One of our listeners in the chat room, his name's Darren. Give a shout out to Darren. He's one of our.
What's up, Darren?
Yeah.
What's up, Darren?
What's up, Darren?
He is one of our most loyal listeners. He had a question that if you could come across a full-bodied apparition, who would it be, or who would you want it to be, and why? What would you say?
That's a great question, Darren. Thank you. I have seen an apparition once or twice in my life, but I'm still waiting for the one to come in and look me in the eye and have an intelligent sort of, I don't want to say conversation, but, where you lock eyes, where it's intelligent. That it's not a residual, something that's playing over and over again. I want to have that eye moment where you lock eyes, and I haven't had that yet, and I know it's coming. I don't know who. I feel like it's going to be a woman, but you never know, But I am waiting for that moment where I walk around a corner, or I wake up because I'm sleeping in these places, and someone's just sitting there staring at you, giving you the look, or you walk around a corner and you see someone and it just happens, I'm waiting for that moment.
I'm sorry, I'm still reading questions here.
It's okay.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll probably going to ask this. Kyle's probably going to ask this later. Any other extra little projects coming up that you can talk about? Anything you're doing right now, or
what is coming out? God, good question. Let me switch gears here and think. What's coming out? What's going on? I guess if people want to check out any of my films, if they go on Netflix, they can watch a movie called Security with me and Antonio Banderas. It's a fun action movie.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's fun.
Antonio.
And it's kind of like a Die Hard in a mall. And
okay.
Yeah, and it's about these misfit security guards, and they have to defend the mall from these terrorists. And Antonio Banderas, who's one of my favorite people, is the star. So yeah, if you're down for just a fun action movie, people can check out Security. Yeah, or if they have
watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's fun. It is. It's fun. And then if they have Amazon, I'm on a show called Sneaky Pete, and I'm in the third season of Sneaky Pete right now, and that's what's happening. And then paranormal wise, I go out with Lindsay Center, and we go to these it's called Face Your Fears, and basically, ghost hunts. So I travel to different places and take people out ghost hunting. So that's kind of what people can check. And I'm always on traveling, doing conventions and ghost hunts and car shows now because of the Fast and the Furious. And and I'm always active on social media, so people can kind of just find me everywhere. I'm there.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Every once in a while I'll catch you on there, and I was like, "Hey, hi," then you'll say, "Oh, hi, Into the Pit." That's me.
Click on when you're doing a live stream, people get bored.
But you've been doing a lot of charity work lately too, haven't you?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Lost Limbs Foundation, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mike Couch from Lost Limbs. He has dedicated his time to finding legs and arms for amputees, and for kids especially. It's called Lost Limbs Foundation, and he's well known within the paranormal community, actually, and has the whole paranormal community rallying behind him. So I do a lot of events with them, and so I would suggest or encourage everyone to go check out Lost Limbs Foundation.
Lost Limbs Foundation.
Yeah, so everybody that's listening, you know I tell you every time, make sure you got a pen and a piece of paper, because we're going to have all kinds of stuff for you to write down and remember. So that's one of them we want to jot down. We'll mention it again before the show's over.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know you were auctioning off or selling off some of those license plates with your signature on it.
Yeah. I love being able to share my things with people, and a friend of mine helped me make a Jesse license plate. It says overnight parts and on it, and they're cool keepsakes. Yeah, like I or the Jettas now, the toy cars that have come out. I'll sign those, and it's fun. I'm a geek at heart, and I love stuff, and I love I collect things, and I just think it's fun to have that stuff. So if I can be a part of that, and I can make someone feel good, and they can get something from me that's like nostalgic, and like, I got a Jetta signed, man, that's just the best.
I'm surprised somebody's come up to you with the license plate that says "Too soon."
Too soon.
Too soon, man.
That's the next one.
No, I'm still partial to that second generation Mitsubishi Eclipse with the 4G63 in it. I'm an Eclipse fan.
Yeah, there were some pretty ones in that movie.
I got some Hot Wheels.
Yes. Can't go wrong with those, man.
Yeah. The first movie was more true, I think, as far as the tuner cars, the Japanese car, and then the second one was just basically like a commercial for like a bunch of aftermarket stuff and like cars that nobody wants anymore. Because the second generation, that Eclipse and the one with Tyrese in it, then it was like somehow they snuck a little Bow Wow into the movie, which they're still trying to act like they didn't do that to us. So we're not gonna act like they didn't try to spring little Bow Wow racing. It's like little Bow Wow can't even cross the street by himself. We're supposed to believe.
That's amazing. Yeah. Number two.
Y'all be pissed. Like, first off, y'all stuck me with a Volkswagen Jetta, and y'all gonna kill me off in 15 minutes and bring little Bow Wow's podcast back?
I know. It was. The Jetta was actually, I think, one of the slower cars out of all of them.
Oh my God, yeah. It's like I was a grocery getter for real.
Yeah.
Like, he got freaking Supras and Honda S2000s, and it was like, man, my neighbor got a Jetta, man. We stole the radio out of a couple Jettas.
Exactly. But they've come a long way. So, yeah.
I'm walking down. We're gonna get something faster and Fast and Furious 2. Paranormal Drift.
Paranormal Drift.
Exactly. You never know.
So has there ever been that one person in the paranormal field that you've wanted to go on a hunt with and you haven't got to do it yet?
Great question. You know what? I feel like that bucket list has been pretty good. Thank God. I've been really lucky to have met, I think, just almost everybody in the industry, and I've learned so much from all of them. I love being able to call them my friends, and one of my favorite things to do is to go to these events and see all of these crazy individuals, and the conversations that we'll have, just matter of fact, about demons and this and that. I love it. It's just so like nonchalant and matter of fact, and but I just, again, I feel incredibly humbled and grateful to be in that world and be able to call them friends and be able to call upon them if I have a problem, and vice versa. So it's pretty cool.
I know one of my favorite conversations I ever had was with Dustin Pari.
One of my favorite people.
And, used to, when I watched Ghost Hunters, I like, look at this dork they got on here. But, when I met him in person and I found out what kind of guy he really was, me and the wife fell in love with him right away. And we didn't talk about the paranormal. We talked about, how he works with people who are going through depression and And that's the kind of people that I like to get to know. And it's like, yes, I love talking about the paranormal, but there's more to this person's life than just that.
Yeah, and you couldn't be more right about Dustin Perry. He's one of the nicest individuals and most caring, most loving people. And he's a special dude.
That he is. So
lots of love here today. Lots of love.
Lots of love. So everybody, get ready with your pen and your paper. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you on social media.
Sure. I would say the best way to get a hold of me would to go to my Twitter and go to my Instagram, and that's just both going to be at Chad Lindberg. And I'm pretty active on Twitter and Instagram. So if you send me a message, especially on Twitter, if you're like, hey, I caught the show today, then that's, I'm more likely to be like, thanks. Twitter, I'm always, I'm a Twitter Jedi. And then, of course, everybody go check out Lost Limbs Foundation, which is a great charity, and say hi to Mike Couch. Tell him we sent you.
There you go.
Tell him we sent you.
Well, I think I was probably bugging the hell out of Lindsay, the lady that was your assistant or whatever.
Yeah.
She's like,
my manager.
Your manager?
Yeah.
She's like, it's that Kyle dude again. Will you hurry up and answer him?
No, it's all good. And and thank you, gentlemen. I love these conversations that are casual and four guys talking. And that's, to me, is the best. It's not an interview. It's a convo.
Well, that's the way we like. Well, that's the way we like it. Don't have to be so formal. I tried that before when I first got into podcasting, trying to have these questions written out, and what about this? What about this? And it's so robotic. But when you just sit and you have a conversation and you just kind of forget that you're even on the air, it gets to be fun.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh man, thank you.
Talking to you, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody, to listening. I know you've got people in your room there, and it means a lot to people. I tell people all the time, you showed up, and that is like what we need to do in life. And when people show up, your time is most valuable. So the fact that people came to hang out with us, that's like the best. So thank you.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. And you get some of these people, some of our listeners can get a lot of hand, sometimes. But that's, I think that's probably why. If Kyle would read some of the questions and comments that our listeners make while we're talking, and sometimes it's not even about what we're even talking about, and doesn't even refer to us. And they're just like sometimes they'll have their own little conversation, with each other. I'm like, okay. All right, fine. Be that way. So
I try
listening in.
I really try to pay attention. Sometimes, like a couple weeks ago, it got raunchy, and I just quit even reading them. But our other medium is on, and his name's Maximilian, and he has a question on what is your belief in other beings like aliens?
What's up, Max? What's going on, man? And I'm 110% all about aliens. I think they have been assisting us for years, and not even years. I mean, just like forever. I think they're here now. I think they're watching us. I think, how can we not be alone? And again, it goes back to we're these gangly creatures. I feel like we're the aliens in a lot of ways. And then you add that on top of it, it's mind-blowing. So I'm all about it. I'm into, aliens. I'm into the fairies. I'm into the trolls. I mean Bigfoot, all of it. I'm on board.
Speaking of fairies, I've got a couple of videos that I'd like to send to you.
Oh, wow. Yes, please.
Because they seem to be attracted to me for some reason. Maybe it's the dress. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, you couldn't have stranger aliens than me and Rodney and Chris talking with you.
And if you ever decide to, just let me know. Also, I'm sure I can hook you up if you ever want to go visit Roswell. I have a hookup out there, so
that would be amazing. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Speaking of which, it's like if you look at the technology as us on the cell phone. Look at the technology before 1947 and after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big boom in technology.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And every 10
Yeah.
years, it's just like, wow, how
Yeah.
did they come up with that?
I don't know, and that's one thing I think about often. I'm like, how can we get any better than this? Oh, it will. I don't know where it's going, but how does it get any crazier? I don't know.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm talking
That is
to a
crazy.
thing called a phone, talking
Yeah.
to
Right.
the three of you. It's
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is stuff that we used to dream about when we watched Star Trek as a kid, you know?
Yeah.
You actually have better equipment than Starfleet.
Yeah. Actually, that is true.
Wireless. They had to have like cords on their shit.
Our communicators are better.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to announce a few things before we get done here. And Chad, please stick around after the show for just a few minutes. We'd just like to chat with you if you don't mind. Number one, every week we always mention joining the Paranormal Bully Busters, and that's by getting involved by visiting stompoutbullying.org, or you can call 877-NO-BULLY. That's 877-662-8559. Visit their website, buy their merchandise, because all the proceeds go to expanding their reach and also the resources. It also allows them to keep the 24-hour hotlines open.